Hi there, Shalom, and welcome to day 11 of the Omer count. And as always, my blog for today, my thoughts for the day. And my thought really for today begins with a real burning question which we in Judaism need to answer. I wonder whether you can think what that question is. I'm not going to give the game away just yet, but it's going to come up in a minute and you'll see what the question is. It's really, really important question, which I suspect that many people do not want to ask, do not even think of asking, and maybe not even aware of the question of what to ask, but more of that in a moment. One of my favorite passages in the whole of the Tanakh is in the prophet Jeremiah. And you'll know, of course, that the chapter 31 and the whole section there on the renewed covenant. It's a beautiful, beautiful section, and it's one, of course, which is quoted often within the Messianic writings. It's very core to Messianic Jewish understanding of the covenants and the covenant renewal that we have within our form of Judaism. And it's very clear when you look at the passage there, when you go through and see the stages of this renewed covenant and how it comes about, that is very much predicated on, built upon the covenants, all of them, preceding this renewed covenant. That this renewed covenant that the prophet Jeremiah talks about can only be understood in the light of the earlier covenants and how they've developed progressively through history, each kind of building upon the one that's gone before, refining and purifying and honing in on exactly what the issues are and how to live as a Jew. It's clear again when you read through the passage there in Jeremiah that it says about having the Torah, and it is the real Torah, the Torah of Moshe's covenant, being written on our hearts. It's a fascinating transition, really, when you begin to think about it in this way, because before that time with Moshe, Moshe brings down the covenant, but it's written on stone. Now that is great. There's nothing wrong with the covenant being written on stone. It's been fantastic. It's written by the finger of God and it's there. The thing is that when it comes down like that as an object with the commandments written upon it, you can put a stone somewhere and it becomes something you can look at. It becomes something really aspirational. It's something that you would look at and think, right, this is what we're doing. It's all up there. It's on the board. I'm looking at it. What's the next thing? How do we do this? How do we do that? And so on. But it becomes very much a kind of shall we say, an ideal that you're looking at. It's a projection of the best that it could possibly be. The issue, and this is where one of the key issues comes in, of course, it's not the Torah. The issue is not the Torah. The issue is us. The Torah is perfect and good, as Rav Shaul says. The problem is that we struggle to keep it. And we struggle to keep it because when it's on stone, it remains in that realm of the aspirational. We want to obey God. We can see what his righteous standards are and his commandments are, but we struggle to keep that level and to keep it at the level of righteousness that the Lord demands of us. We are human beings. We are sinful and we struggle with the righteous standards of God. The renewed covenant comes in at this point and really puts a very different spin on all of this, because it's now saying that, yes, previously, while this was aspirational on stone, it takes what is an aspirational look at the righteousness of God and it internalizes it now inside the heart, as the scriptures call it, but let's just call it the internal being, the internal nature of who we are as human beings. It becomes part of us. And the heart in Jewish thinking, as you know, is the seat of volition and will and choice and decision. And it basically means that our very nature is changing at that point. When the Torah impacts our heart, is written on our heart, at that point it begins to change who we are as human beings. We're not the same anymore. We are changing at that point. And now, I'm sure at this point, as long as we've read Deuteronomy 30 and the rest of them where it talks about Adonai will circumcise our hearts and we will connect all this together, of course, it all makes sense. God has to write his righteousness on our hearts, change our very natures, changes who we are. So you read that passage and you go, fantastic, that is such wonderful, wonderful good news. And here comes the question I mentioned at the very beginning. All covenants are instituted and cut and established by the shedding of blood. Where's the blood? Where's the blood? It's a really interesting question. It is the question, the Jewish question. to ask of the prophet right now, so where's the blood? You've not mentioned any blood. Where's the sacrifice? There was no sacrifice for the renewed covenant. Where is it? I want to know where it is. I think it's fair to say, if you've gone through the more traditional Jewish commentaries and ideas and thoughts around Jeremiah and these verses where he talks about the renewed covenant, Rabbinic Judaism, by and large, doesn't really major on this covenant, doesn't really see it as something particularly interesting. The commentaries are weak. There's nothing amazing about this. Maybe just kicking it into the long grass, kicking it into the future at a time when, in the Messianic age, this will be a thing. We'll just park it. Well, yeah, it's not a thing. It's not a major issue. You won't hear about it being discussed in a major way in other forms of Judaism, but in Messianic Judaism we do, because it is critical. And why is it critical for us? Because it comes back to the issue of where is the blood? Where is the blood? For the renewed covenant to be established, for it to be coming into force and in power to actually begin to change us. Where is the blood? Well, I don't think you need me to answer that one, do you really? I mean, we know the answer. What did Yeshua say? Because we're still thinking about Pesach not that far back now. And Yeshua said, when he took those symbols within that Pesach meal and that third cup, and he said, this is the blood of the renewed covenant. Now, he wasn't just talking about the wine in that cup that evening. That's not what he was talking about. He was talking about the blood that he was going to shed when he died. This is the blood of the renewed covenant. It's almost like Yeshua is answering that ancient question of where's the blood? And he's going, here it is, here it is. I'm the one who will shed the blood now to inaugurate the renewed covenants. So it now can change you. So you are no longer someone who is sinful, who is perpetually sinning and getting things wrong. Now I will change your very nature, and you will now become someone who is without sin, who occasionally falls. It's a complete reversal of our status. Sinners who occasionally get it right, to being born again, renewed creations, renewed creatures, who are now walking in the righteousness of God and occasionally getting it wrong. At least that should be what we now are. But understanding that revelation is a power in itself, to understand that we are now free to obey. We have the power to obey with the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit in our lives, living in us with his righteousness written on our hearts. We now have the power to live out that righteous life that we were always meant to as Jews. This is what we're meant to do. The blood of the renewed covenant. Now the Torah can change you. It's no longer aspirational, it is inspirational. It's inspirational. It moves us. It changes us. It has the power to mold us and break us. If we yield to the Spirit of God working in our lives, each and every day now through the renewed covenant, we can become more like Yeshua, more like Adonai, more like the righteousness that our God demands of us. Thank you for listening. I bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.